Have you ever prayed and heard nothing back? No sign, no answer, no direction, just silence. You prayed with faith. You believed with your whole heart. You expected something to happen, but instead, everything stayed the same. And slowly, a dangerous thought begins to form in your mind. Maybe God is ignoring me. It's a painful place to be, because it's not just about unanswered prayers. It's about feeling unseen, forgotten, left behind while others seem to be moving forward. You watch people around you receive blessings, breakthroughs, answers, and you begin to wonder, God, what about me? But what if the silence you're experiencing is not rejection? What if it's not abandonment? What if it's not that God has turned away from you? What if God is testing you? There's a difference between being ignored and being examined. When someone ignores you, they don't care. But when someone tests you, it means they see something in you worth developing. And God does not waste time testing people He has no plan for. The truth is, some of the most important moments in your life will come wrapped in silence. Not because God is absent, but because He is working in a way that doesn't require noise. In fact, the silence of God is often the place where your faith is being stretched the most. Because it's easy to trust God when everything is working. It's easy to believe when prayers are being answered quickly. But when nothing is happening, when heaven seems quiet, when you feel like you're standing still, that's where the real test begins. And how you respond in that silence will determine what comes next. So before you assume God has forgotten you, before you give up, before you walk away, understand this. You're not being ignored. You're being tested. There's something deeply unsettling about silence, especially when it comes from God. Because when God is silent, it doesn't just affect your situation. It affects your mind. You start questioning everything. Your faith, your prayers, even yourself. At first, you try to stay strong. You tell yourself, God is working. But as days turn into weeks and weeks into months, the silence starts to feel heavier. You begin to wonder, did I pray the wrong way? Am I not good enough? Is God even listening? And slowly, doubt begins to whisper louder than faith. What makes it even harder is what you see around you. People are testifying. Doors are opening for others. Miracles are happening, just not for you. And that comparison can quietly break your spirit. Because now it doesn't just feel like delay. It feels like you've been skipped. You're doing your best to stay faithful, but inside, you're tired. Tired of waiting. Tired of hoping. Tired of trying to stay strong when nothing seems to change. And in that place, silence becomes dangerous. Not because of what God is doing, but because of what your mind starts to believe. You start interpreting silence as absence, delay as denial, testing as rejection. But here's what most people don't realize. God's silence is not empty, it's intentional. Just because you don't hear Him doesn't mean He's not speaking. Just because you don't see movement doesn't mean nothing is happening. There are seasons where God goes quiet, not to confuse you, but to reveal what's truly inside you. Because when everything external goes silent, your internal state becomes loud. What you believe, what you trust, what you truly stand on. And that's where the real battle is. Not outside, but within. So if you've been in that place where God feels quiet and your heart feels heavy, understand this. You're not the only one who has felt this way. And more importantly, this silence has a purpose. Silence can be misleading. Because when you don't hear anything, it's easy to assume nothing is happening. But with God, that assumption is often wrong. God could be silent and still be active at the same time. Think about it. Some of the most important things in life happen quietly. A seed grows underground in silence. A baby develops in the womb without noise. Even the strongest foundations of a building are laid where no one can see. Silence does not mean inactivity. It often means hidden work is taking place. In the same way, When God is silent in your life, it doesn't mean he has stepped away. It means he is working in places you cannot see yet. He's aligning things. He is shifting circumstances. He is preparing you and preparing what is coming to you. But here's the challenge. Because you can't see it, you may start to doubt it. And doubt has a way of making silence feel like abandonment. You start thinking, if God was really with me, wouldn't I feel something? Wouldn't I see a sign? Wouldn't something change by now? But God does not always reveal his process. Sometimes he reveals only his timing. And in those in-between moments, he watches how you respond. Do you keep trusting when there's no evidence? Do you keep praying when there's no response? Do you stay consistent when there's no confirmation? Because real faith is not built on what you see. It's built on who you trust. Anyone can believe when miracles are visible, but it takes a different level of faith to believe when everything is quiet. And that's exactly where God is shaping you. He's teaching you to walk by faith, not by sight. To trust his character, not your emotions. To stand firm, even when nothing around you is moving. So don't mistake silence for absence. God is still there. God is still working. And God has not forgotten you. Even now, especially now in the silence. If you've ever felt like God is silent in your life, you're not alone. In fact, some of the greatest people in the Bible went through seasons where God seemed quiet. But those seasons were actually tests that prepared them for something greater. Take Abraham. God gave him a promise that he would become the father of many nations. But after the promise came silence. Years passed. Nothing changed. No child. No sign. Just waiting. That wasn't God ignoring Abraham. It was God testing his faith. And when the promise finally came, it was clear Abraham had been prepared for it. Then there's Joseph. He had dreams of greatness, but instead of rising immediately, his life went in the opposite direction. Betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, thrown into prison. And in all those moments, there was no explanation from God, no clear direction, just silence. But behind that silence, God was positioning Joseph for a level of leadership he could not have handled earlier. Consider Job. In a short time, he lost everything: his wealth, his children, his health. And what made it even harder was that God did not immediately explain why. Job cried out, questioned, and struggled to understand. But through that silence, his faith was tested deeply. And in the end, God restored him beyond what he had before. Even Jesus experienced this. Before his public ministry began, he was led into the wilderness. 40 days, no comfort, no crowd, no miracles, just isolation and testing. That season was not a delay. It was preparation for everything that was to come. All these stories reveal one powerful truth. When God is about to do something great in your life, he often allows a season of silence and testing first. Not to break you, but to build you. Not to harm you, but to strengthen you. Not to abandon you, but to prepare you. Because elevation without preparation can destroy a person. One of the biggest questions people ask during difficult seasons is, why is God allowing this? Why the silence? Why the delay? Why the pressure? But the truth is, God does not test you to harm you. He tests you to prepare you. Every test has a purpose. First, God tests you to build your faith. Faith is not proven when everything is working. Faith is proven when nothing is working and you still believe. It's easy to trust God when doors are opening, when prayers are being answered quickly, when life feels smooth. But when everything slows down, when you can't see progress, when you don't feel anything, that's when your faith is being strengthened. Because real faith says, even if I don't see it, I still trust you. Second, God tests you to reveal what's in your heart. Not because he doesn't know, but because you may not know. Pressure has a way of exposing things. It reveals whether your trust is truly in God or in results. It shows whether you're committed to God or just committed to what He can give you. Sometimes, God allows silence so you can see where you really stand. Third, God tests you to prepare you for what's coming. Here's something many people don't understand. The level you're praying for requires a version of you that doesn't exist yet. The blessing you want, the responsibility you're asking for, the influence you're believing for, all of it requires growth. And growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in testing. God uses silence to stretch you. He uses delay to mature you. He uses pressure to strengthen you. Because if He gives you everything too early, it could destroy you instead of blessing you. So instead of asking, "Why is God doing this to me?" ask a better question. What is God building in me? Because every test you go through is shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, and more prepared. And when the test is complete, you won't just receive the blessing. You'll be ready to handle it. When God is testing you, it doesn't come with a label. There's no announcement, no warning, no clear explanation. But there are signs. And if you understand these signs, you won't misinterpret what God is doing in your life. One of the biggest signs is delay. You pray, but nothing changes. You expect movement, but everything feels stuck. You feel like you're doing everything right, yet you're not seeing results. That delay is not random. It's a test of patience and trust. Another sign is pressure. Situations become uncomfortable. Challenges seem to increase. Life feels heavier than usual. It's in that pressure that your real character begins to show. Because pressure doesn't just challenge you, it reveals you. Then there's silence. No direction, no confirmation, no clear answer from God. And this is where many people fail, because silence can be misunderstood. Instead of seeing it as a test, people interpret it as rejection. And that's where the mistakes begin. One of the biggest mistakes people make during a test is giving up too early. They stop praying. They stop believing. They walk away just before the breakthrough. Another mistake is doubting God's character. They start questioning if God is faithful, if He really cares, if He's truly listening. But the moment you start doubting who God is, your foundation begins to shake. And then there's acting based on emotion instead of faith. When things don't make sense, people rush decisions. They force outcomes. They step out of alignment because they're tired of waiting. But reacting emotionally in a test can delay what God is trying to do. So the question is, how do you pass the test? First, you stay consistent, even when you don't feel like it, even when nothing is changing. You keep praying. You keep believing. You keep showing up. Consistency is proof that your faith is real. Second, you learn to trust without evidence. You may not see progress. You may not feel anything, but you choose to trust anyway. At this point, you may still be in that place, that quiet place, that waiting place, that place where nothing seems to be happening. And if you're being honest, part of you is tired. Tired of praying, tired of hoping, tired of trying to stay strong when you don't see results. But hear this clearly. God has not ignored you. Not for 1 second. Not for 1 moment. Every prayer you've prayed, He heard it. Every tear you've cried, He saw it. Every time you felt like giving up but didn't it mattered. You are not invisible to God. What feels like silence is not emptiness. It's process. Right now, things may not make sense. You may not see movement. You may not understand why it's taking this long. But just because you don't understand it doesn't mean God is not in it. There is something being built in you. There is something being prepared for you. And when the test is over, when the silence breaks, when the season shifts, you will look back and realize God was there the whole time. So don't quit now. Don't lose your faith now. Don't walk away in the middle of the process. Because this moment, this exact moment you're in, could be the very thing that's preparing you for what you've been praying for. Hold on. Stay faithful. Stay consistent. Because you're not being ignored. You're being prepared. If this message spoke to your heart, don't just watch it and scroll, like this video, so someone else can find it too. And if you believe God is still working in your life, Even in silence, type "I believe" in the comments. If you're serious about growing your faith and understanding what God is doing in your life, subscribe and stay connected, because there's more coming that you don't want to miss.